16 July 2020 is a red letter day for the congregation of the Sisters of the Little Flower of Bethany, known as the Bethany Sisters, for the Church in India, for the Universal Church, for the country and the world at large. On this day they begin their 100th year. They complete 99 years of their existence and enter into what is called the Centenary year. On the 16th of July 1921, Monsignor Raymond CAMILLUS MASCARENHAS founded this congregation in Bendur Mangalore with 4 sisters, and ever since the congregation has been growing in leaps and bounds, not merely in Mangalore or in Karnataka, but in every corner of India. Today, through 187 communities, they work in 9 different countries throughout the world. So 16th of July is a day not merely of thanksgiving, not merely of looking back, not merely of singing the Magnificat, but truly a day of looking ahead as they enter their centenary year. What then are the characteristics of the Bethany Sisters? Characteristics of any religious congregation has a lot to do with the founder, the charism of the founder, the vision, the mission that kind of sees that person all through his life, and that is why the congregation was founded. If you look at the Bethany Sisters, the first and perhaps the core competency of the congregation is contemplation. That is why the name Bethany, that beloved house which Jesus longed to go to, the house of Martha, Mary, and their brother Lazarus. And there, in the beauty, in the silence, in the hospitality, in the availability of that house, Jesus very, very clearly says, who has chosen the better part? The one who sits at his feet. And if you look into the life of the founder, contemplation was his hallmark. He prayed long hours of the day and night, and even in twilight years, while sitting at the cottage just outside the mother house, he would lovingly gaze at the Blessed Sacrament that was exposed. Today at the heart of the Bethany Sisters is contemplation. That Ignatian spirituality that in a way kind of was mainstreamed in the life of the founder and in the life of the congregation from the very beginning. In the run-up to the entering of the centenary year, the sisters have spent long hours in front of the Blessed Sacrament. It's a perpetual adoration, not merely in the mother house there in Bendur and Mangalore, but in different parts of the world, within India and abroad too. Contemplation is basically prayer, is sitting at the feet of Jesus, to listen to him, to understand what he is trying to tell us. Contemplation is essentially to be a person, to be a man, a woman of prayer, seized with that spirituality of Martha and Mary, seized with the spirituality of the little flower, Saint Therese of Lisieux, of Child Jesus, who spent years in the cloistered Carmel convent, but yet at the same time was praying for the missions. Contemplation, as St. Ignatius would like us to be doing throughout, is that ability, that strength to obtain the gift of love. There is a second dimension, and that is compassion. St. Ignatius himself says that contemplation, as Jesus clearly wanted every disciple of his to be, could not be restricted to the 4 walls of a chapel or a church, could not be restricted merely to be gazing or sitting at the feet of Jesus, who has chosen the better part, Martha and Mary. And St. Ignatius gave us that whole dimension of contemplation and action. And this, the servant of God, Raymond Francis Camillus Mascarenhas, decided had to be done. In those years, almost 100 years ago, he reached out with compassion to the poor, the suffering, the orphan, the widow, and very especially in those times, to the young girls, to the women of his time. He empowered them, he lettered them, and to those who were already Christians, he brought a catechesis in their idiom, in their language. He was able to translate the New Testament into the mother tongue of people, into Konkani, and later on into other languages. His compassion reached out in education. He felt people had to be educated, very especially the girl child. And this over the years has been the tradition, the hallmark of the Bethany Sisters. Everywhere they have been able to radiate compassion to the poor and the marginalized, to the girls, to the young women from remote and distant areas. Today, they have their convents in the rural areas. They empower the women. They work for the rights of people. They work for fighting against human trafficking, against what is happening to the women and children of our times. And this they have been doing for these past 99 years without counting the cost. Compassion has been radiating, has been in a way reaching out to all those who truly need that compassion which only comes from Jesus. You cannot have compassion today if you're not able to read the signs of the times. 99 years ago, and a little before that, Raymond Francis Camillus Mascarenhas read the signs of the times. His spirituality was contextual, and that was what St. Ignatius demanded of the Society of Jesus at that time. And this was what permeated into that fledgling congregation more than 90 years ago. The ability to read, to understand, and to respond to the signs of the times. It was a spirituality that was contextual. And Jesus reminds us, what about, an ordinary farmer will be able to see the clouds and tell you what is happening. Even foxes have holes, birds have nests. He tells us, everyone knows what has to be done. Everyone needs to read the signs of the times. And around that time, in 1919, Pope Benedict XV gave the world a very important apostolic letter called Maximum Illud, that momentous, which basically spoke about go forth, preach the gospel, live the good news, go to the peripheries. And that apostolic letter became mainstreamed in this fledgling congregation, which was begun in 1921. That apostolic letter said many things. 3 key things it said. First of all, we need to go forth, have the courage to go forth, go to the peripheries, those who need us most. Secondly, we need to cultivate local, indigenous clergy and congregations. And thirdly, we have to respond to what people actually need, the cries of the people. And this is what the founder of the Bethany Sisters did. And over these 99 years, the sisters of the Bethany congregation have had a spirituality which is contextual. They have been responding to the signs of the times, reading them, understanding them, and trying to live out the mandate that comes from no other person than Jesus. It takes courage to answer a call. Raymond Francis Camillus Mascarenhas, a servant of God, had a lot of courage. He chartered roads which were uncharted. He went by bullock cart. He walked. He went to the distant areas. He gave and did not count the cost. He had to face a lot of hostility. And over these 99 years, the Sisters of the Bethany have taken great risk in going out to the peripheries, in going out to what the congregation demands, to going out to what the church demands, and very especially in recent time, to what St. Pope Francis is asking of religious congregations, asking of every single man and woman who are consecrated to being in the service of Jesus. And they have translated this courage into concrete action. They have faced great hostility, they have faced great hardship, but as we have said earlier, they have given and have not counted the cost. Above all, we can have all these things, but 99 years and entering our 100th year is no mean achievement. It calls for a tremendous amount of commitment. The vows which the sisters take at their first profession, at the final profession, is about a lifelong commitment. A lifelong commitment to be Marthas and Marys in our world of today, to be like St. Teresa of the Child Jesus, in prayer and contemplation, but in a very concrete act of missioning, living out the charism, the vision and the mission of the founder. For almost a century now, they have been steadfast in their commitment to the cries of the poor, the marginalized, and very especially to the young girls, to the women of our times, both in India and abroad. And that commitment is seen in Mary. The Magnificat has been that prayer which the sisters of the Bethany congregation have not merely been singing, have not merely been praying, but they have been trying to live it out every moment of their lives. The theme which the sisters have chosen as they enter their centenary year is the words of their founder. Let Bethany grow, let Bethany flower, and let Bethany bear fruit. To grow, to flower, to bear fruit. And this is exactly what the sisters have been doing these past 99 years. And as they have just entered their 100th year, it is important for the congregation and for all of us associated with the congregation to give thanks to God for this great congregation, to accompany them into this new journey, a journey of renewal, of greater contemplation, of greater compassion, of greater context, of greater courage, of greater commitment in this 100th year and in the journey beyond. We need to sing with Mary, our Mother, as we thank God for the gift of the servant of God, Raymond Francis Camillus Mascarenhas, for this great congregation, the congregation of the Sisters of the Little Flower of Bethany, as they enter their 100th year. My soul gives thanks to the Lord, and my spirit rejoices with God my Saviour. Thank you, dear sisters of the Bethany congregation, for all that you have been doing to so many hundreds and thousands of people these 99 years and more. May you truly grow, may you truly flower, and may you truly bear fruit in great abundance. God bless you all.